Hello and welcome to my e-learning tool. This video will give a brief knowledge about colorectal anatomy. First, we'll discuss about the parts of the colorectal anatomy. It begins with the cecum and the appendix, which continues to the colon. Colon has three parts: the ascending colon, transverse colon, and the descending colon, which continues next to the sigmoid colon. The last part of large intestine is the rectum and the anal canal. Before going into the details of these parts, we should first understand the differentiating features of the large intestine that make it look different from other parts of the gastrointestinal tract. These include the small fatty projections called omental appendices. These are found hanging on the outermost surface of the large intestine. Then, the various types of tenia coli. Mesocolic tenia is the attachment of mesocolon. The omentum attaches to the omental tenia. The connective channels produce saccule-like segments called haustra. So now, let's start with the first part of the large intestine, the cecum. It is a blind intestinal pouch of approximately 7.5 centimeters in length and breadth. It is freely mobile and present in the right iliac fossa. It has two openings. The bigger one is the ileal orifice, where the terminal part of the ileum ends. And another is for the origin of the appendix. The ileal orifice is guarded by the papilla, which acts as a flap valve, preventing the reflux of content during contractions. The appendix is a blind intestinal diverticulum that is almost 6 to 10 centimeters in length. The wall of the appendix mainly contains lymphoid tissue. It originates from the posteromedial aspect of the cecum, inferior to the ileocecal junction. The most common position of the appendix is retrocecal, but other positions are also shown here. An appendix has its own short triangular mesentery called the mesoappendix, derived from the mesentery of the terminal ileum. The cecum continues superiorly to the colon. For proper understanding, the colon is divided into three parts. Ascending colon, the second part of the large intestine that extends to the right colic flexure, is overlapped by the liver. The ascending colon is secondarily retroperitoneal, which means it is covered with peritoneum on its anterior and lateral wall. The transverse colon extends from right colic flexure to left colic flexure. Being an intraperitoneal organ, it is freely mobile. It loops down towards the umbilicus and may reach up to the pelvic cavity in tall people. Transverse colon is attached with the posterior abdominal wall by transverse mesocolon. The root of the transverse mesocolon lies along the inferior border of the pancreas. Descending colon is the continuation of the transverse colon. It extends from splenic flexure to the sigmoid colon. Again, the descending colon is also secondarily retroperitoneal, but it has a mesentery in almost 33% of cases. Moving forward to the sigmoid colon. It is an S-shaped, intraperitoneal organ. It is freely mobile and has an inverted V-shaped mesentery. The sigmoid mesocolon first moves superiorly and medially to pass the bifurcation of the common iliac artery. Then medially and inferiorly related to the bifurcation of the common iliac vessels to the anterior aspect of the sacrum. The left ureter and division of the left common iliac artery lie retroperitoneally. The rectum is a terminal part of the large intestine. It is a muscular tube that plays an important role in defecation. Puborectalis muscle passes around the rectum like a sling and helps store feces and develop continence when it contracts. The anal canal is a passage that helps in the expulsion of feces during defecation. Details of the anatomy of the anal canal are explained in a separate video in this course. For now let's continue further, with the arterial supply of the large intestine. The main contribution is given up by the superior mesenteric and inferior mesenteric artery. The superior mesenteric artery originates from the abdominal aorta. Then, it runs downwards and to the right. For better understanding, we will discuss the arteries related to a different part of the large intestine in the same fashion as we discussed the parts. So, the first artery related to the large intestine is the ileocolic artery, a branch of the superior mesenteric artery. The ileocolic artery gives several branches. The appendicular branch supplies the appendix. Anterior and posterior cecal arteries supply the cecum. The ascending branch moves upward along the wall of ascending colon and anastomose with the right colic artery, which completes the blood supply to ascending colon. The transverse colon has a bit of complex blood derivation as it develops from the midgut and the hindgut. The middle colic artery supplies the part of the large intestine that develops from the midgut. The left colic artery supplies the remaining portion of the transverse colon that develops from the hindgut. Please note, this demarcation has surgical importance. Branches from the left colic artery also supply the descending colon. The sigmoid colon is supplied by the 4 to 5 sigmoidal arteries, branching from the inferior mesenteric artery. The rectum is supplied by the terminal branch of the inferior mesenteric artery called the superior rectal artery. The venous drainage from the large intestine flows through tributaries of the superior mesenteric vein and inferior mesenteric vein. The inferior mesenteric vein is joined by a splenic vein and then joins the superior mesenteric vein to form the portal vein. Portal vein ascends upward to form inferior vena cava.